Hello, my name is Becky Menzel, and I am the genealogy librarian for the Spokane Public Library. One of the most commonly asked questions I get as a genealogist is where do I look to find archival newspapers? While there is no one-size-fits-all, there are ways to find many papers online and for free if you know where to look. First, you need to remember that a newspaper was something our ancestors read and threw away. Some people would clip out articles for scrapbooks, but for the most part, the news was ephemeral and time-sensitive. I'm sure some of our relatives would be shocked and embarrassed to know that today we are searching for and reading all about them, good and bad. Originally, pamphlets or broadsides were written to inform the public of mostly political and global matters. Ironically, the first newspaper published in America was the first to be suppressed. The advent of the early newspaper format was a multi-page, folded paper made from cotton and linen, which has made the newspapers more durable than modern paper and less likely to disintegrate as they aged. Even then, most newspapers weren't published every day. The type had to be set by hand. Papers were limited to about 4 pages, with a lot of advertising to counter the cost of printing, and rarely included local news, which was often spread by word of mouth faster than a paper could be printed. The 1890s were the peak of newspaper journalism, with the rivalry between William Randolph Hearst and Joseph Pulitzer spawning the age of yellow journalism, which consisted of sensationalized and even manufactured events, what we now call fake news. By 2018, only 1 in 3 newspapers was independently owned, and most advertising revenue has shifted to social media, forcing the cost of newspapers to rise. Despite this, newspapers can be a goldmine of information and can allow a sneak peek into the daily lives of your relatives. You can find information about their politics, religion, character, and personality, relationships, club affiliations, and criminal history. The smaller the town, the more gossip you are likely to find, as editors wanted to fill their pages and encourage subscriptions. As photographs became more common, often wedding or reunion information was accompanied by an image. It can be a way to see a relative you have never set eyes on or provide a new view to someone you may have known. Sometimes we get more than we bargain for with newspapers. Often, information that today would be deemed private was aired for all to read. Most of the information was mundane: marriages, births, deaths, and legal notices, but sometimes you can find gems among the news. Until the advent of radio, the only source of news and information was the newspaper. Finding the name of the local paper that was published in the time frame you are looking for can be tricky. Many newspapers were bought and sold, renamed, went out of business, and then were resurrected. A paper might only survive in bits and pieces, and the year or date you are looking for may not have endured. There are several websites that can help you find the correct titles. WorldCat, Chronicling America, and Wikipedia all offer searches for newspapers based on location and date. Some state library websites may also help you narrow down titles to look for. Once you have a title, it's time to search for the paper. If you are lucky enough to find the paper online and full text, using some of the resources listed here, you might need to know the approximate date you are looking for, as many papers either don't have an index or the computer-driven search is less than helpful. Most companies use a computer software to identify and/or transcribe documents. While this can be a good way to start, don't assume that the software has found all of the times the word you are searching for appeared. I always recommend skimming the paper if you can, as lots of tidbits may not have been indexed, could have been indexed incorrectly, or may not be with similar notices, as sometimes editors used gossip to fill small spaces, so no part of the paper was blank. Depending on the database or website, you may be able to specialize your search. Most of the searches are similar to what was taught when the internet first appeared, and may be familiar to some of you. Not every site will let you use these search options, so be sure to check the help section of each database for more search tips. If you find that the paper you are looking for is only available on microfilm, you can request it through interlibrary loan at your local library. Currently, at the Spokane Public Library, due to a remodel, we do not have access to a microfilm reader. However, we do have access to ProQuest Historical Newspapers, which is the digitized version of the microfilm. If you know the paper and date you are searching for, some libraries will do the lookup for you and send it electronically if you contact them. However, no library I know of will do the search for you, so it pays to have that information before you contact them. If you simply can't find any other way, there are usually people you can hire locally who are able to do the search for you. The town or county's genealogy society should be able to recommend someone. There are many different types of papers. Subjects can be specific, such as business, commerce, etc., or ethnic, geared towards certain communities or in a language other than English. Newspapers for organized labor, political parties, and religions may contain information you won't find elsewhere. If you know your relative was involved in such groups, you might search for subject rather than geography. Several times I have come across towns where the only newspaper has been in German. This can confuse things, and you may need to seek out someone who can help you translate, but you can still search for names, which may be in the paper's language, such as Johann or Giovanni instead of John. As with all research, always document where and when you found it, along with the paper, date, and page number. Recreating a search can be a pain and isn't always reliable. If a paper is particularly dense, listing a column may also help. Be sure to use the page number from the newspaper and not the index. Be aware that sometimes there can be multiple editions of a paper, so be sure to check that. At its peak, the Spokesman Review printed 6 different regional sections. It may seem like a lot of work, but in the end, the information you find may prove to be just what you were searching for.